Otherwise, a lot of cloud cover, some light outbreaks of rain and drizzle, more persistent damp weather for parts of Northern Ireland, southern Scotland and northwest England. And this area of cloud and outbreaks of rain starts to move north once again on Wednesday evening, pushing into the rest of Scotland eventually overnight. Meanwhile, it stays mostly cloudy across Wales, southern and southwest England. But for the Midlands, eastern England, southern Scotland, clear spells, which will lead to, in some places, frost and even fog to begin things on Thursday. Once any fog clears, though, the best of any sunny spells will be across eastern Scotland, southern Scotland, northern and eastern England. Generally cloudy skies elsewhere. The rain in the far north of Scotland eases through the day so that by the afternoon actually many places are dry, but it will turn a bit colder. High pressure is extending across the whole of the UK on Thursday and Friday. It will bring a lot of cloud, but it will also turn things colder.
Canary Islands sponsors the weather.
You're watching GB News live across the UK and the world on our digital stream.
GB News is Britain's news channel.
We are the UK's home of discussion and debate from all perspectives.
We are here for you. Don't forget to join our YouTube community by clicking on that subscribe button.
And if you want the GB News app, you can click and catch up on programmes anytime.
We love to hear from you, so email us.
gbviews@gbnews.uk.
Thanks for being part of the GB News family.
My name is Andrew Doyle. Join me every Sunday evening at 7 p.m. for Free Speech Nation. This is a show where we address current affairs and news stories of the week with the help of two wonderful comedian panellists. I brought in comics because I want to give it a lighter edge, and also they work for less. See you there.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch. And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilised conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
I'm Colin Brazier. I've reported from more than 70 countries around the world, covered wars from Afghanistan to Iraq, from Lebanon to the Balkans. I'm trying to bring that experience, that feel for events, to the studio. And something else. I'm ready to give an opinion. Today's stories with a spark. Brazier from 8 p.m. weekdays on GB News.
Hello, my name's Dominic Frisby, and in just a few moments we'll be bringing you Headliners, two comedians and me looking at some of the best stories from tomorrow's papers, a full night in advance. But before we reveal their identities, here is the news with Polly Middlehurst.
Good evening, I'm Polly Middlehurst. These are your latest news headlines. The Prime Minister has suffered the largest rebellion in the Commons since taking office. Almost 100 Conservatives defied the whip to vote against the introduction of mandatory COVID passes for nightclubs and large venues. Support from Labour means the measure will still go ahead. MPs also voted in favour of mandatory vaccinations for NHS and social care staff by April next year. And wearing face masks has been extended to include more indoor spaces in England, such as in museums and galleries. The Prime Minister's also facing more fury tonight following evidence of yet another Tory Christmas party during lockdown last year. An image has emerged showing 24 people in a room at Westminster HQ for an event organised by Sean Bailey's mayoral campaign. The Mirror newspaper says Mr Bailey quit as chair of the London Assembly's Police and Crime Committee after being approached about the photograph. It's also claimed Number 10 staff were told to leave via a back door after taking part in Boris Johnson's Downing Street quiz last Christmas. Meanwhile, in Scotland, the First Minister says she's not cancelling Christmas this year as Omicron cases continue to climb. Instead, Nicola Sturgeon is asking people to limit their socialising to a maximum of 3 households during the holiday period.
Turning to Christmas Day specifically, or Christmas Eve or Boxing Day, or whenever you have your main family celebration, we are not asking you to cancel or change your plans, and we are not proposing limits on the size of household gatherings. Keeping your celebrations as small as your family circumstances allow is sensible too. Make sure everyone in your gathering is vaccinated and has done a test in advance. Keep rooms ventilated and follow strict hygiene rules.
Meanwhile, the Prime Minister has described the murder of 16-month-old Star Hobson in West Yorkshire as shocking and heartbreaking. Boris Johnson also says lessons need to be learned and children must be protected from what he called barbaric crimes. Savannah Brockhill, pictured on the right, was convicted of murdering the toddler. Her partner and Star's mother, Frankie Smith, seen on the left, has been found guilty of causing or allowing the death of a child. Star's great-grandfather says he saw the worrying signs of abuse. Malta has become the first European country to approve the personal use of cannabis. The law, approved by 36 votes to 27, allows adults to possess 7 grams of marijuana and grow up to 4 plants at home. The country's Equality Minister says the move will ensure there's a safe and regularised way of obtaining the substance. You're right up to date. Now back to headliners.
Good evening, hello everyone and welcome. Yay Malta, go Malta. My name's Dominic Frisby and this is Headliners, the show that saves you the bother of having to read tomorrow's papers. As to the 2 comedians sitting on my left and I have already sifted through them and panned out the gold. Well, maybe not the gold, but the best bits. But before we say hello to them, let's start with tomorrow's headlines. And first up is the Mail, which has not again. This is another story of infanticide. 2 more innocents have died at the hands of abusive adults. And again, social workers and doctors failed to spot it. The Guardian has Johnson suffers huge Tory rebellion over COVID passes. Good. And UK Omicron cases could reach 1 million a day, says forecaster who has yet to get a forecast right. Don't let that stop you quoting him, Mr. Guardian. The Telegraph has Tory COVID rebels deal hammer blow to Johnson's authority, yeehaw, and Omicron may be no worse than flu, says government advisor. And there, in a nutshell, is the difference between the Telegraph and the Guardian. 1 million cases a day in the Guardian, no worse than flu, says the Telegraph. What's the truth? Probably, I don't know, somewhere between the two. The Independent has this terrible story of Star Hobson, another child who was abused to the point that she died. How do people do that? And ministers flying blind on size of Omicron wave. This is the lack of tests leading to a lack of reliable data. What gobbledygook is the FT going to go with today, we ask ourselves. Let's see. Johnson suffers biggest setback of premiership in Plan B rebellion. That's remarkably clear for the FT. And also Channel 4 left with all-white board as ministers bar directors from rejoining. The Metro has the devastating story of Star Hobson. Our little star went to hell before she went to heaven. And PM's Xmas stuffing, I'll say. The Eye has Omicron threatens normal Christmas. Is there such a thing as a normal Christmas? I'm dreaming of a normal Christmas. The Sun has Keep Calm Like Mom. She's hosting family Xmas dinner, Christmas dinner. At least somebody's setting a good example, although I doubt Meghan's invited. The Times has huge COVID rebellion, stuns PM, and it looks like more than 1 million people will spend their Christmas in isolation. A dream for some, a nightmare for others. The Express has revolt bruises Boris, but will PM be proved right? Quite a loyal stance there from the Express. And finally, thank goodness for the Daily Star, which has brainless, the hunt for Dominic Raab's brain goes on. He panics UK, saying 250 are in hospital with Omicron. Then hours later, he reveals the true figure is a measly 10. Hello, so let me introduce tonight's guests. Welcome to Headliners. I'm Dominic Frisby, and joining me this evening are Ian Stone and Rona Cameron. Hello, chaps.
Hello there.
I'd written a really funny introduction about the two of you, if only I could remember what it was, and it wasn't put into the wretched auto cue, so I have to save it for the next time you both are on. So we'll start with you, Ian. I want to ask you how you're both doing, and I particularly want to ask you this, Ian, not because I don't care how you're doing, Rona, but because I saw a picture of you having lunch with Gareth Southgate.
Yes,
this week.
I did a little gig with Gareth Southgate. It was a PFA, Professional Football Association do, and Gareth was speaking for 45 minutes about what happened, and then I was on after him. So I was on after a man who got a standing ovation, but it actually was okay. And he's a lovely guy, by the way.
Did you actually have lunch with him?
I had lunch with him, and it was very nice. And
was it a boozy lunch?
I gave him no. It was all mineral water. I was going on, and he's Gareth Southgate. But I gave him a few tactical tips, and I think the World Cup's in the bag, I would say.
Do you think giving football managers tactical tips is a bit like lay people giving comedians gags? Is it the same?
I wouldn't say that. No. I've watched a lot of football. I mean, I suppose everyone thinks they're funny. But no, I wouldn't presume. But we had a nice little chat. And like I say, he's a lovely guy. And I'm not surprised he's doing as well. And the boys respond as well as they do to him because he's a good guy.
Yes.
That's my feeling about him.
And what about you, Rona? Were you having lunch with the Scottish football manager?
Well, that's why I have to be a Scottish football manager.
Well, because he was having lunch with the English and you're Scottish.
I'd actually like to have lunch with Gary Neville. I'm very fond of Gary. I've always had a soft spot for him. And, of course, he's one of the rare people... We discussed his... You felt like... And a lot of people do feel like his brother was... but more of a utility player, but he's one of the few people in football and in sport in general that is politicised, and I really love him even more for that. So, yeah, but I didn't meet him today, no.
Keep politics out of sport.
Absolutely not.
And so to our first story. Because then it just makes sport even... I mean, sport is divisive because of teams, but... Nevertheless, we don't need politics as well. We've got enough politics everywhere else. And so to our... Talking of politics, we have our first story, which is from the Daily Mail. Get ready for a January lockdown. Everyone's favourite chief medical officer, Professor Chris Whitty, has been warning ministers that there could be 1 million daily COVID infections by January. And these astronomical case rates could, I stress the word could, spark staff shortages in pubs, restaurants and shops and create pingdemic 2.0, effectively creating another lockdown. The problem I have with all this alarmism is that half the country panics, and hence there are all these queues round the blocks for booster jabs, nobody can get test kits, the NHS is overwhelmed, and the other half no longer believes a single word that comes out of an expert's mouth because the modelling has been so out for so long. And there's no doubt that it's very virulent, at least in my little world in London at the moment. So many people I know are coming down with it. It's rife in schools. Comedians are dropping out of gigs. Gigs are being cancelled. Worst of all, my end-of-year footy night has been cancelled. But the first real-world study of the variant, not economic modelling, real-world study in South Africa, has found that Omicron is causing lower hospital admissions and that the vaccine is effective. South African doctors have accused the government in London of overreacting, and with signs that the outbreak has already peaked in South Africa, they may well just be doing that. The other sort of little suspicious thing in the whole setup is the fact that these COVID mandates only suddenly came in just as Number 10 was scandal-ridden because of all the parties, and it was perhaps a diversionary tactic. It all makes you very suspicious. But, Ian, I mean, what's your view on Omicron as our chief virologist on the show today?
My general... Thank you. I'm glad you're acknowledging my expertise.
Our chief medical expert.
Do you know what? I have no idea, but the news from South Africa in the last day or so has been pretty good. And I'm hoping, I mean, I've said it to Simon on this show before, what we want really is a highly transmissible, mild disease. And if that's what we get, that would be great. In terms of...
It's sort of a gift from the gods in terms of putting an end to it all.
I think it would put an end to it all, but that's surely what a virus wants, right? It doesn't want to kill the host, does it? It wants to infect the host and keep it alive. I imagine these Delta is going, not another, I've killed another one. Oh, well, I'll move on to the next one. But obviously it's worrying to hear de facto lockdown. I also think Rona said to me before, what is a de facto lockdown? I think it's a lockdown where they don't support
to be stupid
businesses.
On air, yeah?
No, but I'm basically
Thanks,
saying...
Ian.
That's all right.
No, I don't understand the context of that.
No, but I think it's about not supporting businesses, and I think that is a problem. Our jobs, the hospitality industries, have suffered a little bit, and it'd be great if they... A little bit, and I think it'd be great if they get support, and it sounds to me like a de facto lockdown would not give them that support.
OK, so because I read de facto, I think it's de facto.
Oh, you know what? You might be right. OK, you've had more of an education than me, which is why you're sitting there, but fair enough.
But I think de facto means an effective lockdown. In other words, not a mandated lockdown, but a lockdown in practice because everyone's ill.
Therefore, no furlough.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, that's not good.
Where do you stand on this?
Well, there's also another... I know you think happy days with Omicron to some degree.
That's you're twisting what I said. But
well, you know, yes, I'm paraphrasing, but you feel that there could be some optimism here because of the nature of it. It's meant to be milder, and as we described the pattern with needing hosts, etc. But there's also a concern that it does state that if people can get Delta and that, there can be some super-duper mutant strain. So there are other things to worry about. Listen, I shall be operating with caution, and I would advise other people to do the same.
Well, absolutely, a voluntarist approach.
I think if we just could do lateral flow tests, people should use them as much as possible when they're with others, and then that's where there's a chance to have a little bit more freedom.
But I want Rona Cameron to have the gig naming the strains of the virus, because instead of Delta and Omicron, I think super duper is...
super duper.
It'd be much better.
It sounds worse, doesn't it? Super duper.
I don't know if it's super good or super bad.
It might be all right, to be honest with you.
After that, we get the supercalifragilistic variant. Anyway, so to our next story, and it's the big story from The Telegraph. Tonight's vote. Boris got his passports, his COVID passports, through Parliament, but he had to rely on votes from the opposition because 99 Conservative MPs voted against the bill. And this reminds me of Theresa May's Brexit bill all over again when she lost the support of her own party and had to rely on Labour to get it through. And interestingly, it's many of the same people all over again. Steve Baker, Graham Brady, Andrew Ridgeon, the 1922 committee. And it takes a tremendous amount of courage to go against the leadership. It really does, not least because it's often career suicide. But once again, these people are standing up for what they believe is right. They're framed in the media as swivel-eyed loons, although, by the way, Lord Feldman, to whom that phrase is attributed, never actually said it. But they are, in my view, heroes. We should be grateful for the opposition that they're providing to this government, that they're standing up for less government, less state and greater freedom. And so, too, should Boris be grateful for them, because without them, he would not be PM. And how has he repaid his debt to them? By turning his back on them. Charlatan that he is, and joining the blob. So, tonight's vote, what do we think? I could see you frowning.
What is this monologue? Where does this come from? How do you get to do that? We want to do that.
The presenter.
We want to do this monologue of our personal views.
Rather than break down the format of the show, Rona, what do we think about the issue? Well,
I don't think there's any heroes in here. I think that there's also a lot of Richie Sunak supporters in here as well, because I think that you're right about about the point you made earlier, and there's other stuff going on about it. Sadly, I'm afraid most of the people in this government, indeed many governments, are not there because they are, compassionate individuals who want to be in public service to improve society. There are other reasons, and we are dealing with a bunch of Caligulas, as usual, in this current situation. And I think that the dirt that was dished on Boris...
So would you have voted for the bill or against it?
I think there's other stuff going on, obviously, isn't there, in the Conservative Party with the leadership.
No. How would you have voted?
I would have voted... Well, this is what's very difficult, is reading the list.
You're even more wriggly than a politician, Rona.
Well, often there is no clear black and white. The problem is there's lots of grey areas with all the things we're dealing with.
Exactly. How would you have voted?
I would have voted for... Yeah, I think it's OK to have I don't want vaccine passports. That's too far. Absolutely.
OK, so you would have voted against?
I would have against that, but I think some of the measures were pretty reasonable.
I didn't think they were voting about vaccine passports.
No.
I mean, there was a particular one, 100 MPs, around 100 MPs, mutinied over the passes for large venues. Now, I'm going to the Arsenal game tomorrow at the Emirates. They basically sent us an email saying you have to either be vaccinated or have a negative test. I don't have a problem with that for large venues because I think that seems like a sensible option. Sure, I'm not forcing... Yeah, I'm not forcing... I'm not saying people should be forced to have the vaccine, but have a negative test, because if you don't, you're more likely to spread the virus, according to most scientists, it seems to me. So I would have voted...
But if we want this lightweight Omicron variant to spread, then that would go against that.
Well, that's assuming that it is a lightweight Omicron variant. We don't know. So I think this is a sensible option. Amazingly, I can't believe I'm even saying this, I would have voted with Boris Johnson.
I know. But when you read the list, it's terrifying,
I'm with Corbyn, folks, on this one.
I know.
That must be just as weird for you as well.
And I love Jeremy Corbyn.
Also,
he's an old-school left-wing libertarian.
Also, someone like Caroline Lucas. I'm sorry, but Caroline Lucas never does a thing wrong. Ever.
Right.
OK, she's perfect.
Right.
Right, she's perfect.
OK.
But then when you look...
I'll let you have that one.
I'll tell you who the biggest problem is.
Yeah.
Peter Bone and Bridgen. I cannot
You do feel that way?
Yeah.
Look, he looks like, honestly, the Matt Goering, the guy that created The Simpsons, he's like a cartoon. Bone. He's a sinister
man. You can't judge him on what he looks like.
I can, actually, because his unbearable views and personality and deep-rooted emotional fears and ignorance are exuding from his body.
I found another one. Sir Geoffrey Clifton Brown. I mean, I don't even know who this guy is, but how in touch is he with the modern... I know that Keir Starmer's...
People with names like Clifton Brown, you should... Like a requisition to be Prime Minister should be to have a double-barrelled surname.
Leadsome as well.
We're to make this country great again. We need double-barrelled surnames.
But it is interesting that most of these...
Bone, Bridgen, Leadsome, out.
Those
leave.
three. But like
Make your way to the F-off enclosure.
OK, on that note, we're going to take an interval. It's going to start with the weather, and then we're going to have ads, and then we're going to have more of Rona's judging people on their looks, not their politics.
I explained
Don't go anywhere. We'll be back in a moment.
It's time to remind ourselves there's always another winter. Canary Islands sponsors the weather.
Hi there, welcome to the latest forecast. There'll be a lot of cloud during the next 24 hours, shrouding the hills of the western UK and keeping things mild. There'll be some rain as well, but that will tend to ease later as this area of high pressure moves in for the rest of the week and begins to properly settle things down widely. Before that happens, these weather fronts and these tightly packed isobars across northern parts of the UK bring wind and rain for Tuesday evening. Some heavier rain at times for the northwest Highlands, but through the night, the area of cloud and rain across Scotland sinks south. It clears from the far north and northwest, but it edges into Northern Ireland, parts of northern England as well. It stays cloudy across southern areas, but through this slice of central UK, clearer spells and perhaps a few pockets of fog first thing. A chilly start here as well, and once the fog clears, plenty of sunshine emerging across parts of North and East Wales, the Midlands, eastern England. Also turning brighter to the north of the central belt, some decent sunshine here and less windy compared to Tuesday. Otherwise, a lot of cloud cover, some light outbreaks of rain and drizzle, more persistent damp weather for parts of Northern Ireland, southern Scotland and northwest England. And this area of cloud and outbreaks of rain starts to move north once again on Wednesday evening, pushing into the rest of Scotland eventually overnight. Meanwhile, it stays mostly cloudy across Wales, southern and southwest England. But for the Midlands, eastern England, southern Scotland, clear spells, which will lead to, in some places, frost and even fog to begin things on Thursday. Once any fog clears, though, the best of any sunny spells will be across eastern Scotland, southern Scotland, northern and eastern England. Generally cloudy skies elsewhere. The rain in the far north of Scotland eases through the day so that by the afternoon actually many places are dry, but it will turn a bit colder. High pressure is extending across the whole of the UK on Thursday and Friday. It will bring a lot of cloud, but it will also turn things colder.
Canary Islands sponsors the weather.
You're watching GB News live across the UK and the world on our digital stream.
GB News is Britain's news channel.
We are the UK's home of discussion and debate from all perspectives.
We are here for you. Don't forget to join our YouTube community by clicking on that subscribe button.
And if you want the GB News app, you can click and catch up on programmes anytime.
We love to hear from you, so email us.
gbviews@gbnews.uk.
Thanks for being part of the GB News family.
My name is Andrew Doyle. Join me every Sunday evening at 7 p.m. for Free Speech Nation. This is a show where we address current affairs and news stories of the week with the help of two wonderful comedian panellists. I brought in comics because I want to give it a lighter edge, and also they work for less. See you there.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch. And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilised conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
I'm Colin Brazier. I've reported from more than 70 countries around the world, covered wars from Afghanistan to Iraq, from Lebanon to the Balkans. I'm trying to bring that experience, that feel for events, to the studio. And something else. I'm ready to give an opinion. Today's stories with a spark. Brazier from 8 p.m. weekdays on GB News.
Join us for Political Correction. We're here every Sunday to correct politics and put you, the people, back in charge.
We talk about all areas of the United Kingdom, including Northern Ireland.
Our debate goes way beyond the Westminster Village. It's about the real country. It's about your opinion. So please, we want you to tell us what you think.
This is Political Correction.
Every Sunday morning from 10 a.m. here on GB News.
You're watching GB News live across the UK, the world, and our digital stream.
GB News is Britain's news channel.
We are the UK's home of discussion and debate from all perspectives.
We're here for you. Don't forget to join our community by hitting the subscribe button.
And download the GB News app so you can click and catch up on programmes anytime.
We love to hear from you. Email us at gbviews@gbnews.uk.
Thanks for being part of the GB News family.
Hello and welcome back to Headliners. I'm Dominic Frisby, and with me are two handsome young veterans of the comedy circuit in the form of Ian Stone and Rona Cameron. And so to our first story. Now, the EU was designed to bring peace to a war-ravaged continent. And what's the best way to keep the peace? Build a giant army. The army that they said only existed in the fictitious imagination of nutjob Brexiteers. Ian, what do you think of this EU army story?
Yeah, it's in the Times. President Macron of France and Viktor Orban of Hungary want Europe to have its own army.
They're sort of enemies, those two, aren't they?
They are. Essentially, he was cast by Macron as his nationalist bête noire, and did I pronounce that correctly?
Perfect.
Yeah. Perfect, thank you very much.
Like a young Parisian.
I constantly get told off by my pronunciation by you or Simon on this show. But anyway, I find the whole idea of a European army, I know that the Europeans they haven't really done their job. I mean, we have got a large Russian force on the edge of Ukraine at the moment. If they do invade and come across Europe, will the European army work? Who's in charge of it? What language do they speak?
Yeah.
It seems like a rather... I'm not sure it's going to work, but it seems to me that Macron is trying to keep Viktor Orban on side so he can take votes from the far right in France, from Marine Le Pen and from Zemmour, this new guy that they've got, and maybe it'll work for Macron. I don't know how much he thinks about
Isn't it horrible that politics... Like, on the one hand, you'd say that's very clever of Macron to do that. It's politics. I know, but isn't it horrible that those kind of games go on?
It's awful that you'd have to speak to a man like Viktor Orban about anything at all, in my opinion. In my opinion. But that's, you know, I'm sure Rona doesn't
I
feel
wonder,
that differently.
I'm more well, I'd like to know what the uniform's like. We quite like the uniform.
The European Army.
We know the badge, but what's
the Italians should do it, shouldn't they?
Yeah.
Really?
Well, you've got to say what you like about the Nazis, the uniforms were good.
But what I want to know...
go boss.
Yeah, I know.
Lovely.
What I want to know is if Scotland get independence, right, and they get allowed into Europe, which is their dream, you know, they get to be part of that, what happens to the Tartan Army?
I think the Tartan Army could take anyone.
That's what Russia fears most.
I think they could probably drink the Russians under the table, that's true.
I think on that note, we'll go on to our next story, and it's The Guardian, and Dominic Raab is overhauling the Human Rights Act, and I'm just delighted to say we have on our panel Rona Cameron, who has a PhD, is it, in human rights law?
I do, yeah, and psychology and sociology and politics.
And fashion.
Now, when I was giving you that list of people making their way to the F-off enclosure earlier, just seconds ago, before the break, I forgot to add Dominic Raab. I know that you find him quite attractive, Ian. You discussed this earlier.
I'm just saying
he's a handsome
man.
He's a handsome man.
Right. He looks quite rugged. He's got something of the
he's
SAS
rugged.
about him.
He's sort of, you know, have you seen that when he talks, his sort of bottom lip sort of twitches, and he's sort of, it's like he's been told, smile. Dominic, smile, smile. You know, and no, he is not.
I think, though, just his speaking voice, you expect him to be quite hunky.
Oh, because he's sort of stiff.
Because he looks quite hunky, and then his speaking voice is
stiff upper lip, sort of British, sort of good sort.
There's nothing wrong with that, Rona.
Good sort that will sort out this country and get back to the kind of values that we've lost in this bloody mess. That sort. Yes, I understand.
True. He did mention... Sorry, Rona.
OK, so this is about human rights law. OK, The Guardian, as you know, ran this story. And it's a claim that he's going to overhaul the human rights law, which will actually counter political correctness. Dangerous reforms to create a new Bill of Rights, criticised as blatant, unashamed power grab. He's going to outline a sweeping overhaul of human rights law that he claims will counter wokery, word I don't use, and political correctness. And... he's going to deal with the deportation of foreign criminals. The highly controversial reforms to be announced on Tuesday, which will create a new Bill of Rights, will introduce a permission stage to deter spurious human rights claims and change the balance between freedom of expression and privacy. How does that sound? Quite good?
Very good.
Just, you know, get right to the heart of the matter.
And what do you think of it?
Well, yes, I think it's... I think, as some lawyers are very worried about, it is dangerous and fuelled by political rhetoric rather than necessity. I wouldn't trust this man with ordering a round of drinks at the bar.
Sorry, is that why you actually think this, that they object to this stuff? Because their livelihood?
In some cases, yeah.
Because you know what, I heard...
The human rights law, it is radically in need of overhaul. It gets abused. People are siphoning off huge amounts of money.
Yeah, I mean...
It is one of the definitions of crony capitalism.
It claims here that as many 7 out of 10 successful human rights challenges were brought by foreign national offenders who cited a right to family life in the first instance when appealing against deportation orders, a practice it wants to end. Now, that seems fair enough, a practice it wants to end, that practice. But unfortunately, this will also give other powers that are, I would say, very
OK,
dubious.
Ian, have a go at me and then we'll go on to the next story.
You know what? All I heard him say about this was he wants to inject a healthy dose of common sense into the debate. And because I think he's a prize idiot, is what I think. I think for someone who's qualified as a lawyer, I don't think he has the first clue what he's on about. That's my general view, having read a little bit in the Secret Barrister and various other things who talk differently about what they think of stuff like this. He did get the numbers wrong as well. If Diane Abbott did that last year and got an amazing amount of abuse, Dominic Raab...
He's like he's on the front cover of the Star.
I don't
his
think...
brain.
I don't
he's
think...
got plenty of abuse.
All right, I don't think he's got the intellectual capability...
He was fed the wrong numbers.
Right, but I don't think he's got the intellectual capability to get involved in stuff that he doesn't understand, in my view.
OK, right, next up, it's a story in the Metro, and a man... a lighter tone to this next story. A man in New Zealand has been getting jabbed on behalf of others. Does that make him a proxy moron?
Nice.
You'll never hear a better pun.
Nice. No. Oh no! All right. Well, I reckon I've done a better pun than that. To be honest with you.
Okay.
Anyway,
on this show tonight.
Not yet. Not in this show. But there's still time, isn't there? Really, we've still got half an hour. This is in the Metro. An unbelievably selfish man gets 10 COVID vaccines in one day. This is in New Zealand.
In one day.
In one day. Other people in one day. His arm must really hurt. I mean, above everything else, they said it won't give him any more protection, but he will feel the pain of it a bit more, so he deserves to feel it. Other people paid him to get the jab for them. Anti-vaxxers, essentially, who didn't want the jab, paid him because in New Zealand you need a COVID pass in order to visit high-risk events. And obviously in New Zealand they're not very happy with him, and I'm not particularly happy with him either. I think if you should get the jab, you should get the jab. If that is the law, I don't necessarily agree with it.
Yeah.
But this is New Zealand. They've had almost no deaths from COVID at all. So they're obviously doing some things right. I think, personally, I think it goes a bit far in New Zealand, but this is going against the way that the country is set
You could
up.
take the other point of view and say these are the kind of things that people do when the law gets really oppressive.
You could take that point of view.
What I'm interested to know is how much did he do? Does it say how much he was paid?
No, it doesn't say how much he was paid. It also says he will be no more protected against coronavirus than people who've had the recommended 2 doses.
He's going to become the coronavirus.
You'd have thought if it did protect you more, if he was super protected, people would flock to him in some way, wouldn't they? Because he's definitely safe to touch. But anyway, it triggers an immune response, which will plateau. So he's been paid by people. I don't really think it's a good thing, to be honest.
Have you been paying people, Rona, to take the virus for you, to take the vaccine for you?
No, I've reluctantly taken the vaccine twice, but I'm finding it very hard to get a booster. I wasn't going to get my booster for a while, but it is saying here that social media users said that the side hustle is gaining traction, which is inevitable, isn't it?
People are always going to try and get round rules and regulations. I get that.
And I can see some really, it's almost like a sort of mild form of organ donation, isn't it? Or not organ, when you sell your organs, you obviously haven't done it.
Sell your organs?
No, there's a big business in organ. People second-hand organs. I'll give one of my kidneys.
Right.
It's
but isn't that more of I'm doing it for some sort of altruistic reason?
No,
somebody needs a kidney.
You get it's a racket in the third world. I buy a kidney.
Anybody want a kidney?
Yeah, there's a bit of that.
It reminds me of when I was young. I had lots of friends who did, medical drug trials for money that was broke. It's the kind of...
It's similar, but lighter.
Nothing like it.
Time for an ad break. Don't go away. Part 3 is the best bit, and it's coming right up.
You're watching GB News live across the UK and the world on our digital stream.
GB News is Britain's news channel.
We are the UK's home of discussion and debate from all perspectives.
We are here for you. Don't forget to join our YouTube community by clicking on that subscribe button.
And if you want the GB News app, you can click and catch up on programmes anytime.
We love to hear from you, so email us.
gbviews@gbnews.uk.
Thanks for being part of the GB News family.
My name is Andrew Doyle. Join me every Sunday evening at 7 p.m. for Free Speech Nation. This is a show where we address current affairs and news stories of the week with the help of 2 wonderful comedian panellists. I brought in comics because I want to give it a lighter edge, and also they work for less. See you there.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch. And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilised conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
I'm Colin Brazier. I've reported from more than 70 countries around the world, covered wars from Afghanistan to Iraq, from Lebanon to the Balkans. I'm trying to bring that experience, that feel for events, to the studio. And something else. I'm ready to give an opinion. Today's stories with a spark. Brazier from 8 p.m. weekdays on GB News.
Welcome back to Headliners. My name's Dominic Frisby, and with me looking at some of the more amusing stories from tomorrow's papers are Rona Cameron and Ian Stone. And so to our first story, NatWest have been fined 265 million quid for breaching money laundering rules. No Bollinger at the Christmas party then. This is from The Times. Rona.
Yes, the taxpayer-controlled lender is the first British bank to be prosecuted by the Financial Conduct Authority, the city regulator for money laundering failures in October. So the NatWest submitted 3 charges of failing to comply with anti-laundering rules between 2012, I can sight read, and 2016.
It's quite funny how the money laundering was happening, though.
Bags of money.
Bags of money.
Bin bags
bin bags that were bursting open. And then they had to put them in Hessian. Hessian, which doesn't feel like, I know in olden times money was in Hessian, but it seems like the wrong material for money. Don't you agree? Hessian. Hessian's quite sort of organic and earthy. And
Hessian? I'm not even sure what that is. That's
Hessian shouldn't be near money.
No?
Should it? Do you not think? It's like should have your own onions that you grow in it or
I think
something.
if you're bringing in 264 million quid in cash, the alarm bells should go off, but apparently not.
265 million quid. So at one point, up to 1.8 million quid in cash was being deposited every day at the height of the activity.
Look, I can't transfer £5 without the bank phoning me up.
At a Bradford branch.
No, but
listen,
they're not gold.
265 million. It's incredible.
But
what have they been fined?
That much. It isn't that much for a bank, is it, as well? I mean,
that's not an insignificant amount of money, even for a bank.
It's not an insignificant...
I don't know what the market cap of NatWest is, but I don't imagine it's more than about 10 or 20 billion quid. So it's like and if 250 million, quarter of a billion.
They'll scrape by, though.
They'll be all right.
So we'd have to do a benefit gig for NatWest anytime soon. Get the money in cash and give it to them.
Another reminder of the evils of rampant free market capitalism. This graceful behaviour. This could pay for all the cladding in the housing crisis of these people in these unsafe buildings.
Can't argue with that.
It could be given to all the health workers.
I can't argue with that, but I'm not going to. We have a story in the Daily Mail now, and people have been naming their kids after baddies from films. Ridiculous. This is your story, Cruella.
Yeah, yes, my middle name. The rise of the baddie baby names. Parents are taking inspiration from on-screen villains, including Batman's Bane and Thor's Loki, with serial killer Dexter proving the most popular. This is in the Daily Mail. I mean, I've got kids, and they have normal names.
Nice names. Your kids got really nice names.
Right, they're normal names. But I'll tell you what we did. When my partner was coming to term with the pregnancy, we did have one night where we got the book of baby names and we spent a whole evening laughing. How about Nebuchadnezzar? That'd be funny. I mean, all sorts of ridiculous... And we'd had a great time.
Neb's a nice name, though, Neb.
Neb actually would be OK. But... we didn't actually name them ridiculous names. These people should be forcibly sterilised.
I wanted to call my first son Aragorn, but I didn't get that through the...
I don't even know what that is.
He's the hero of Lord of the Rings.
I see. OK, fair enough.
But no, he wasn't the bad end. Didn't want to call him Sauron.
Is that Elrond? Isn't that part of the same thing?
Yeah,
This is like the council, isn't it?
Yeah,
or something?
Council of Elrond. Yeah, I'm going to call him Elrond.
You're married with children, though, right?
Divorced.
Oh, OK, fair enough. But you did manage to find someone who would take you, even knowing all that stuff.
I was glad to take me. I think I was surprised. is, Ian.
No, but I suppose I just think, I mean, there's other ones here. Vader, as in Darth.
Yeah.
Maleficent. What's that from?
She's the evil queen in the version of Snow White.
Oh, right,
Magic
okay.
Joe.
And Chucky. There's even Chucky.
Yeah. Well,
I mean,
really,
these people shouldn't be allowed kids, should they, if they're going to do that to them? Because it's just unfair on the kid.
Yes.
I kind of think Loki, after the Norse god of mischief, and there's a Loki from Thor. I kind of think Loki's quite cool.
I like the name Thor, actually. But my favourite name is Travis, and Joe and Tom, just classic names. Joe and Tom. But actually, you mentioned Cruella de Vil at the beginning. When I was a little kid, it was the first film. No, it was Jungle Book was the first film. Yeah. But then, who's the baddie on Jungle Book?
Not Bagheera, that's the...
It would be the snake.
No, yeah, I'm not sure. Oh, it's Shere Khan.
Shere Khan,
that's right.
That's a good name, Shere Khan.
It's kind of royal.
But I felt...
Sounds royal.
I felt...
child of the cartoon characters.
I felt in love with Cruella de Vil. I really fancied her. And the evil queen in Snow White.
She was definitely hot. Right, it's The Guardian next, and a story on blatant misogyny. Rona, I'm going to let you do this one.
Yeah, well, why? Because I'm always talking about blatant misogyny.
No, it was a...
So, yes, this story is about... this is bizarre. This is about an English exam in India. So, nationwide tests for teenagers included passages, indicating female independence was undermining discipline in the home. So an Indian exam board has withdrawn a passage from a nationwide English exam that appeared to promote the subservience of wives after an outcry of blatant misogyny. All students have been awarded full marks for the comprehension section of the exam covering the passage, which appeared to explicitly state that women's independence was undermining discipline and parenting in the home. The offending passage contained lines such as the emancipation of the wife destroyed the parent's authority over the children, and in bringing the man down from his pedestal, the wife and mother deprived herself, in fact, of the means of discipline.
It's not helpful, is it? It's not helpful.
It's not. I mean, it was stupid, but it was an exercise in comprehension. So,
but why should they have to comprehend a sentence of blatant misogyny?
It's stupid and it's thoughtless.
Yeah.
But I sort of got the impression that it's an old text that they sort of reuse various times. It's obviously got various things that are good for comprehension.
They should have read it. One of those.
Of course they should.
Shockingly regressive.
But I like the fact that
views.
all kids got top marks. All kids got 100%.
Yes.
Yeah, that also isn't helpful as well, is it? It's like sports days when they're little, everyone wins a prize.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not sure, but literacy for girls is 59.3%.
Yeah.
Literacy for boys is almost 80%.
And there is massive problems.
Way to go.
Massive
and those things
with,
don't help.
rape in India.
Yeah,
massive problems.
As well.
So. What?
These sort of things. Why? Well, just read the story first, maybe, and then...
Well, the bloke who set it probably didn't realise there was anything even wrong with it. It's The Guardian once again. Who'd have thought The Guardian would get so much coverage on GB News? But there's open-mindedness for you. Bugs are evolving to eat plastic.
Yeah.
This
is a brilliant story.
Good news, some good news.
This is good news. The first bit of good news we've had. In The Guardian, bugs are evolving to eat plastic. Basically, microbes in oceans and soils across the globe are evolving to eat plastic. Essentially... the results of this survey provide evidence of a measurable effect of plastic pollution on the global microbial ecology. The Earth is fighting back. I mean, that's really... I mean, essentially, we might as well just chuck all our plastic in the ocean now because the ocean will deal with it at some point. You know, and essentially, I mean, I took the recycling today and I just tipped it in a lake. I thought I'll sort it out at some point. Great.
Some microbe will
Some microbe will evolve at some point and deal with it. This
Love
is
that
good
line,
news.
though. The Earth is fighting back.
The Earth is fighting back. I think it could use some help from us as well. But I am encouraged. You don't see a lot of good news.
No, you'd assume
and I think that's good.
That plastic is inorganic and therefore there's no calorific value to consuming it. But given the fact that it's made from oil,
Fossil
you'd
fuels,
assume
yeah.
there's some kind of innate energy to it. I guess.
Yeah.
I guess. The microbes like it anyway, or some
Another
of them do.
example, our generation were exposed to so many toxins, Generation X, who have got the worst, most appalling cancer statistics out of, sorry to bring the story down, back to reality, of any other generation. I know, but we had so much plastic, you know, it was really everywhere, and particularly the 60s and 70s.
We've got good hair, though, haven't
It was
we,
cheap,
the three
yeah,
of us?
with good hair.
My chemistry teacher
And-
saying to us, this is the, Mrs. Humber, she said, this is the plastic age.
Yeah, that's when the asbestos age and the chain-smoking age and the...
Anyway,
yeah.
next we have a story in the Daily Star about a cynical old grump who is trying to ruin Christmas and who children are scared of. It's not another Boris story, it's the Grinch. A Grinch who really was a Grinch, Rona.
The Daily Star, is that still going? What kind of story is this?
We rely on his headline.
I refuse to read it out. It's such a bad story.
We'll summarise it.
I don't even know
pithily.
what I nearly said the F word there. Grinch is. But it's some green cartoon
What
thing.
me and Ian are.
Mum, let's forget Brexit and Omicron and the Earth adapting and the fact that we could have Richie Sunak, who needs to let his trousers down a bit more, in charge in a few months' time. Let's concentrate on this cosy little story about a mum called Laura McGill, who, according to Belfast Live, shared her bizarre experience in Facebook, the place for bizarre experiences, of course. So this mum hired a Grinch visit for her son.
It's weird, isn't it?
What's
The whole
this?
story's weird.
And she's raging. Everyone else is raging about all the other stuff, but she's raging that she paid £85 and the Grinch ended up trashing her home. The dodgy impersonator is alleged to have entered her house, destroyed the contents of a buffet, and damaged numerous... I'm sorry, not...
I think with, well, the video went viral.
Ridiculous
I think
story.
The video's quite amusing to watch. Yes, the Grinch ruined Christmas, which is exactly what Grinches do, but perhaps he took his job a little too literally.
No, it's not Omicron, it's the Grinch.
Is what you are.
Exactly. So the Daily Mail is next, and a religion that seems to be spreading faster than a pandemic is yours.
Dear.
All right, The Dark Side of Hollywood's favourite religion. It's a new book, Beyond Belief, by L. Hardy. Reveals how Pentecostalism, which counts Justin Bieber among its followers, can involve brutal exorcisms. I mean, are there any other sorts of exorcisms? Do you get gentle, like tickled it out of you or something? You just go, oh, it's gone now.
Casual exorcism.
Yeah, it's a strange... Anyway, it involves brutal exorcisms and drinking poison to prove devotion to God.
Just another night out for the Bullingdon Club.
Well, I don't know if Justin Bieber has done either of these things, but anyway, what's interesting to me is it's growing. 1 in 10 people will be part of the movement, it's predicted, by 2050. There are 3 million Pentecostalists in this country. 3 million.
3 million?
3 million, it says.
In England? In Britain?
In Britain, in the UK.
Blimey.
A lot
of gypsies.
1 in 20. Is that right?
No,
Okay.
I read to the red at the end of the
Oh,
article.
I didn't get that far. Because what happened was they said there were other A-listers who have been spotted attending the church in the past, the Pentecostalist church, which include, and I'm just going to read these names, Hayley Baldwin, Chris Pratt, Selena Gomez, Vanessa Hudgens, Nick Jonas and Hayley Steinfeld. I personally know 2 of them.
I've heard of one, Selena Gomez.
Oh, right. I know Chris Pratt as well, I think. I think I've seen him on Graham Norton. And that's it. But anyway, there's a lot of them. And I don't know whether they'll take over or whether they'll just be around. But I don't like the idea of brutal exorcisms and drinking poison.
I think it's, you know, with the disappearance of traditional religions, people need stuff to believe in. And that's why you see the growth of these weird things, weird cults.
Therapy, that's what people need to believe in.
It's hardly, well, yes, but it's hardly a cult if 3 million people in the UK. That's quite something, isn't it? Really?
Every religion started as a cult.
I suppose that is the case. I'll tell you what, it actually looks like quite an interesting book. I'll be honest with you, because it's a good story. Amy Semple McPherson, which was a name I'd heard in the past, she was involved in it. It's American.
I used to love fantasy and sci-fi as a kid. In fact, I still do. And I saw the L. Ron Hubbard book, the Scientology book, which I presume was a sci-fi adventure.
Yeah.
And
He's
thought
written
that as a
hundreds
kid.
of them.
Yeah, but it was a big disappointment.
Have you taken the test? I took the test.
I read some of that as well. Yeah. There used to be in Good Street.
In Good Street, and they'd say, you should take the test. And then you do the test. It took about half an hour, and they say, oh, there's something wrong with you. You should join the Scientologists. Really? I can't believe it. I thought I'd be all right.
OK, Rona, you've got a story in the Mirror now, and a family...
Another great
had a
story
snake
after the
in their
Grinch.
Christmas tree.
Yes. Halt. Stop press. Let's address this. A British family discovered a deadly snake behind bauble whilst decorating a Christmas tree. This was in South Africa, so we're not that surprised there was a dangerous snake. Rob and Marcella Wilde were admiring their festive fur when they spotted a 4-foot boomslang between the branches at their home in Cape Town.
Boomslang?
I was going to say, I wanted to boomslang.
They got the fright of their life when a poisonous snake poked his head out from behind a bauble. Rob and Marcella Wilde were admiring the tree with children Edward, 11, and Sahara, 6, when they spotted the deadly boomslang nestled between the tinsel at their home in Cape Town, South Africa, as I've already said.
I love this.
It may interest you to know, gentlemen, that the reptile is the country's most venomous snake, ahead of course, the mamba, and the cobra.
It's dangerous, but not aggressive.
That's
apparently.
Right.
So it's kind of, it's the cool guy. Just don't mess
with the
it.
boomslang.
And he won't mess, the boomslang won't mess with you.
But he was sitting on the Christmas tree.
Yeah, and they called the snake detective, or whatever it's called, the snake catcher, and they had to keep the snake occupied for 2 hours.
They had to rustle the presents. Well, they rustled the presents so that the snake hid back up behind the tinsel.
They should rustle them at a distance. That's what. Yeah.
But
you
the
wouldn't want to have
mirror,
them too
can
close.
I just say, we can allow... As well as performing a civic duty of trying to bring down Boris Johnson, it's suddenly written this bizarre story about a snake in a Christmas tree.
But I'll tell you what, though, we haven't got a Christmas tree yet, and I'm going to check it quite closely tomorrow.
That's why I'm an advocate of plastic.
Can I just say,
Christmas
I'd rather have a snake than a tree.
I remember once when I was been about 20 years old, and I was sitting backpacking round Southeast Asia, and I was in a little place in Thailand, and there was a man who used to sit there in a sort of sarong with this stick, and he just used to sit there and smile benevolently in his cafe, and we always used to go there it was on one of those islands, and we were there for about 3 weeks, and we just like, what does he do? All he does is sit there all day. And then one day we were just sat there a little bit, doing what you do in Thailand, and he just suddenly came rushing towards us with his stick, and bang, and whacked his stick down and on the ground, and then just picked up this snake.
He was there just to watch out.
I don't think he was the snake minder, but he saved us from this marauding snake. I've got to go to the next story, sorry. And it's a story that shows that crime does pay, but then you have to pay it back, Ian.
Yeah, couples, sorry. No, they were guys. John Ross Watson and Mark Goodran went on a 4-day bender after hitting the jackpot. They basically claimed a £4 million scratch card payout, but they bought it with a stolen credit card. The story... The pair initially claimed they were given the credit card details by a man they had helped earlier in a brothel.
What were they helping him with? What were they helping him with?
Well, there's a lot of questions.
What kind of help?
I don't know. They were helping him spend his money on his credit card. They won £10 on a scratch card, which they were given in cash, and then they scooped £4 million on a second one. So that must have been quite a moment. And they went on a 4-day bender. But they didn't get any of the money. Their only monetary gain was £172.34 after shopping in Londis and Waitrose. So they got...
So the lottery people refused to pay out?
They didn't pay them out because it was a stolen credit card. And they both pleaded guilty to 3 counts of fraud by false representation. So they had it for a while, and then it was cruelly... Well,
it's happened to us all.
Well... I always said if my partner forgot to post my lottery numbers, I don't have lottery numbers, but if I did, and she forgot to post them when we won, I'd have to leave her because I couldn't look her in the face after that. But these guys got what they deserved, which was nothing.
And presumably a jail sentence.
Yes, well, that might be coming. So.
Right, that is all we have time for tonight, ladies and gents. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you to my guests, Rona Cameron and Ian Stone. What a wonderful time we've had. And we'll be back tomorrow at the same time.
It's been wonderful, isn't it?
Same place, but with Simon Evans in the hot seat. Until then, cheerio, and do join him or he'll be very upset underneath that tough exterior. he's quite a softie. Until then, cheerio.
It's time to remind ourselves there's always another winter. Canary Islands sponsors the weather.
Hi there, welcome to the latest forecast. There'll be a lot of cloud during the next 24 hours, shrouding the hills of the western UK and keeping things mild. There'll be some rain as well, but that will tend to ease later as this area of high pressure moves in for the rest of the week and begins to properly settle things down widely. Before that happens, these weather fronts and these tightly packed isobars across northern parts of the UK bring wind and rain for Tuesday evening. Some heavier rain at times for the northwest highlands, but through the night, the area of cloud and rain across Scotland sinks south. It clears from the far north and northwest, but it edges into Northern Ireland, parts of northern England as well. It stays cloudy across southern areas, but through this slice of central UK, clearer spells and perhaps a few pockets of fog first thing. A chilly start here as well, and once the fog clears, plenty of sunshine emerging across parts of North and East Wales, the Midlands, eastern England. Also turning brighter to the north of the central belt, some decent sunshine here and less windy compared to Tuesday. Otherwise, a lot of cloud cover, some light outbreaks of rain and drizzle, more persistent damp weather for parts of Northern Ireland, southern Scotland and northwest England. And this area of cloud and outbreaks of rain starts to move north once again on Wednesday evening, pushing into the rest of Scotland eventually overnight. Meanwhile, it stays mostly cloudy across Wales, southern and southwest England. But for the Midlands, eastern England, southern Scotland, clear spells, which will lead to, in some places, frost and even fog to begin things on Thursday. Once any fog clears, though, the best of any sunny spells will be across eastern Scotland, southern Scotland, northern and eastern England. Generally cloudy skies elsewhere. The rain in the far north of Scotland eases through the day so that by the afternoon actually many places are dry, but it will turn a bit colder. High pressure is extending across the whole of the UK on Thursday and Friday. It will bring a lot of cloud, but it will also turn things colder.
Canary Islands sponsors the weather.
Hi there, welcome.
You're watching GB News live across the UK and the world on our digital stream.
GB News is Britain's news channel.
We are the UK's home of discussion and debate from all perspectives.
We are here for you. Don't forget to join our YouTube community by clicking on that subscribe button.
And if you want the GB News app, you can click and catch up on programmes anytime.
We love to hear from you, so email us.
gbviews@gbnews.uk.
Thanks for being part of the GB News family.
My name is Andrew Doyle. Join me every Sunday evening at 7 p.m. for Free Speech Nation. This is a show where we address current affairs and news stories of the week with the help of two wonderful comedian panellists. I brought in comics because I want to give it a lighter edge, and also they work for less. See you there.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch. And then for the last 15 minutes, Talking Pints. We're over a